All right, you guys set up and ready? Three, two, one, go!
Audio Jungle.
Hello there. I wasn't holding this the right way so that it would actually show. How's it going? Thanks for joining, everyone. Didn't see you there. Just in my dungeon today. So glad to have visitors. Wow. The chat room is lively. The AOL chat room is popping off. It is story time today. I'm going to be getting into the epilogue of this long-standing saga that we've been working on, toiling over for... I started it probably a month or so into quarantine, and now we are on year 2 practically of quarantine, so it's been long running. It's been a long time coming, and thank God we're almost done. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna miss it, I think, but maybe it'll return in some form or another. It will at least live on with our little Twitch emojis, and we'll do little callbacks to it from time to time, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm gonna show off what I made for the final one. These things always take me like 20 times longer than I think they are. Even leading up to this moment, I was like, all right, let's just render out the preview, or like the final video essentially, and like that took like an hour, and I thought it was going to take maybe like 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm really pushing the hardware here. I'm pushing the envelope, but that's okay. We made it. Yeah, let me move over to... Actually, you know what, first? I'm going to do my new segment called Show and Tell, where I show off random things that I think are interesting. So this is story time with Carter. So my friend Sage bought me a belated birthday gift, and it's from an artist that I very much admire. I am not going to place their country of origin because I will get it wrong. I want to guess Ireland. But Killian Ing is really, I found him on Instagram, and I have like a Dark Souls print of his, and let me actually show the insides. But my friend Sage bought me this big just like art book, and is very much everything I'm about. Let me see if I can hold this up appropriately. But they are an illustrator. They just do... Oh no, I'm going to destroy the book. I'm trying to blindly fold this page. It's not working. Let me see if I can pull up like a spread that I really like. Their work gets like more and more intricate as time goes on, so it's kind of interesting to see their progression. Like this one is super spooky. This guy's face. It's like made up of like bushes, and this is not doing it justice because I'm showing it like through a MacBook webcam, but you can kind of see where I'm like, this would be, yeah, it definitely has some Mobius vibes to it. Yeah. Real cool. I'm stoked. It's #1 coffee table book now, from now on. So, yeah, that was exciting. Love that. Cool. Let me flip over to this other screen. All right. Now, like a fool, I'm gonna be once again blasting computer audio through a mic. So, and you know what? This is actually the first time I've seen this rendered out, which usually the speed is usually a bit faster, and like the audio can be different, and the render always looks different than the pre-render. So this will be a first for me as well. But yeah, let's see. I changed up the music. He's dead. Or is he? Get wrecked, son. That's... And then he just becomes not impaled anymore. And, cheers. Cheers to the heavens. Oh, that was actually a ridiculous timing coincidence on the music, but I kind of like it. Let's watch it again. So, a couple of things. I'm just gonna play it again. I turned off the particle effects. There was some like little embers that were flying around, and turns out they made my computer just like sound like a jet engine trying to render it. So I was like, I'm just gonna stop and let's just render this out without the little flames. Oh, turn the other music off. That's a good point. that end bit is like way too overdramatic. All right. Well, I'm sure I will play it again throughout this stream as people come in, because I'll just have to show them. But yes, turning my other beep boops down. That's a good call. Yeah, just pull yourself off of being impaled. I will say I am going to add in some more little like blood bits, but I wanted to keep it PG for the stream. Not that I think it ever gets too gruesome, but yeah. Oh. So that was fun. I also want to, there's always more, right? I'm always just like, now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. It's like, it's over. We finally did it. That's not what I want. But yeah, I do want to do some kind of like end screen where it's like Merfolk wins and it's like a cool like splash illustration. Yeah, I was actually thinking of pretty much exactly that, where it's like the sword that like impaled the Merfolk is like still left in the rock, and it like zooms in on it and it like glows with some energy or something like that. Very like Iron Giant kind of, where it's like it will reassemble itself eventually. Did Iron Giant ever do a second movie? I'm just gonna play this in the background for a sec. So this is like 4 hours of screen recording that I just sped up to like 400%. So yeah, there'll be I know. I did a little bit of a tribute to all the fallen characters with like the statues of all the dead, and then like originally I was trying to make the final level into this like lava cemetery thing. I didn't quite get that look just because I didn't want to actually paint all the like headstones, but I had little statues around of them, if you notice, in the actual environment. Yeah. So I'm probably gonna do just a little mix of like showing off this kind of like time lapse of what's going on, just so people can see like a little bit of the like build up, what it takes. So I guess the main thing is like, yeah, well, I'll talk more about the process, but I'll probably go between this and I don't know, I've been doing a lot of this After Effects stuff, so I'm in the mood for some like just drawing or painting. Feel like I haven't done that in a bit, especially on stream, so I was like, maybe, oh, Gabby, thank you for the follow. How great. That would be my partner. Love that. It's a little late to the game. It took me to the final stream to earn Gabby's follow. I had to finish the series or else it just wasn't. She wasn't impressed. Just kidding. But yeah, I'm probably going to maybe sketch out just like a scene where it's like Merfolk dude on a throne. I know I roasted you. I'm sorry. No, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Like and subscribe. But yeah, I'll probably do a little sketch of like some kind of like victory screen, maybe on the second half of the stream. But for now, I was just gonna kind of do a little behind the scenes on this. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions at any point, just shoot. Otherwise, I'll just relish in my in my work, my labor that I've done, and just watch it at 4 times speed, which sometimes makes me feel worse. I'm like, man, I really this stuff that I'm doing right now, I did 4 times slower. So time lapse always makes things look a little easy, but as you can see, it's just a lot of like double checking. Oh, Sraris, thank you for the follow. I don't know if I said that right. S Raris. Now they're coming in. Yeah, so I think at this point I was trying to figure out a little bit of this like puppeting kind of like rig that I did for the golem. I talked about it a little bit last stream, but essentially beforehand in my previous animations, I was essentially kind of like individually animating all those pieces. So there's like, you know, in that rock character, there's like there's all those floating pieces, right? So it's like the chest, the shoulders, elbow, like the hand, the head, the feet, the limbs, like, and I kind of wanted to have that like floaty feel to it with a bit of, I guess what you would call like secondary animation, where it's you know, like if the body moves, like the limbs kind of take a second to like catch up. So everything is chained together, but I was like trying to animate that delay on everything just manually. So the keyframes all looked super, like it was just a lot to look at. I basically would like animate everything just like on the same, at the same intervals, and then I would try to just like stagger or like delay like all the keyframes of the arm by a few frames, and like delay all the keyframes on, you know, those little like rock sort of floating satellites, like delay those by quite a bit. And that was how I sort of like manually did all of that kind of like delayed animation to try to get that look. And this time around I tried automating it. So there was an expression that I found from this Instagram account called, I think it's called like Blunt Force Simon. Probably find it if you search that. And they had some like really short little like expression tips, and one of them was this like kind of exactly what I wanted, where it was like an expression that you put in and you can kind of adjust like the time that is delayed, and it's based off of like something that you parent the layer to, I believe, or in the expression you can reference what layer you want it to be influenced by. So like kind of like parenting in these layers, where you just like, you know, link certain things together so they move with each other. And anyway, this expression sort of automated that, where you could adjust the timing and like the influence it had. And so I was using those expressions to try to build out this character this time, and it had some advantages and disadvantages. Like, obvious, I think when I did it basically like freehand or like manual, it looked better. And this time around, it was a little more like mechanical feeling and less sort of like flowy like my other ones. So it was like a good learning experience, and I will probably use that little expression elsewhere because I think it's handy. But yeah, it's yeah, it's I managed, so something like, I feel like I learn something new basically every time I do this. And Chris, I guess kind of what you're saying is like, when there are too many pieces, it becomes overwhelming. I So I made, and it took me until the last one to finally start doing this, but I started making a lot of use out of the shy button. I don't know if I can like pause and show where that is, but it is, let me see if my cursor, you can't really see. It's this little, like, I don't even know what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a little, I think of it as like a little gopher like hiding in a hole, and you can like mark certain layers that you want to shy, and then when you click the shy button it will hide those layers, but they will still, you know, they'll still be there, but they will just be like hidden in your project. So that way, like when you have a bunch of different like effects layers and stuff like that, you can, once you know that they're like good and you're not going to change them, you just turn on the shy option on them and then they are like hidden. And so I essentially tried to reduce all of like the like merfolk character and the golem. Like I tried to basically shy everything that wasn't important so that I was only looking at layers that like needed keyframes, and that helped quite a bit. So yeah, that blue icon right there that's in there is like the shy option. The other thing I started doing, which I'm doing right here, is I started using, if you hold like, I always hit shift 8, but I think you can hit shift and then any number, and it makes like a little annotation. Medicine, what's up? Yeah, it's the gopher button. Yeah, you could just basically, so you hide all the like excess information on screen and just try to like parse it down to like the basics. And yeah, I was also making use of this little like annotation function too. So like, because I have all these sort of nested compositions where it's like, you know, I'm in like the isolation mode right now where I'm just trying to animate this character, and it's in its own composition that is in a different kind of master composition, and there's like a couple, you know, like different folders, if you will, but sometimes those aren't all matched up like in the timeline. Like, you know, the 5-second mark in this one is at a different spot in its like master folder. Like those timelines don't all match up. So then when you add these little annotation markers, it will actually show, like when you zoom out to like the master folder, it'll show those little markers on the layer to be like, okay, this is when it like starts to its little like lunge attack, or like this is when it you know, gets hit or something. So it's helping, yeah, leaving yourself some breadcrumbs, or you help yourself out. So like, you know, when you next time you pick it up in like 2 weeks or whatever, like you have some notes to go off, and it's not just like walls of keyframes of that you're just like, what is going on here? Yeah, this one, I think this goes on for quite a while. This character was pretty challenging to just like figure out. Let me know if anyone has any questions. They could be general too. They don't have to be like, I know I'm getting deep into the little like bells and whistles talk, but if you're like, how do you even begin? Thoughts on future projects? Yeah, it's a good question. Something that I actually showed you, Christopher, and I haven't started mine yet, but I found this other Instagram account, and it's kind of like in the same vein as Inktober. which I know it has sort of fallen from grace at this point. But same idea where there's like prompts or like some kind of like collective effort and like sort of theme that everyone follows for like a set amount of time. But this one is for more like animation or motion design, and it's called, the Instagram account is called weeks.mp4, like weeks, like 52 weeks in a year sort of, and it's like one animation per week. And the one thing I'm not super sold on is like the criteria is, and all of the posts that they've kind of curated thus far are very like typography heavy, and they're like basically just the word like week 1, and it's like, you know, it's animated in a cool way, but I guess coming from more of like an illustration perspective, like it's a little less appealing, but I like that idea. So basically just trying to stick to like one animation a week, and I may or may not like participate in that specific one, or maybe I will try to like do more of a design approach, and maybe I will stick with it. But I like that sort of trying to crank out one a week, because unlike this one, I feel like one a week will force me to just like not be precious with everything, you know, like this one in particular took me like a month and a half to make. And so like I don't know, like, and even now it's like still not finished in my mind. Like I still want to go back and like add some like more layers of polish and like more effects and just like sort of pile stuff on. So I feel like it would just be good for me to like kind of head in a different direction and do just like volume and try to like, I feel like I'll just be able to like try new ideas out faster that way. So that's kind of my next thing, is like unclear weekly project where I just go quantity over quality. How do you come up with these characters? Maria and Alicia. Oh, that is funny. They're mostly, I would say, like, when I was going into it, most of them are kind of just like existing, I don't know, like, I don't know if it's like gothic or like fantasy or like where a lot of them originate, but like, you know, like gargoyles and I don't know, they're sort of just like standard sort of like Dungeons and Dragons characters in my mind. So I can't claim too much like originality on any of them, but I think originally when I was going into it, I was just like, I want, you know, these sort of characters that people are familiar with and have them fight each other. And so that was kind of the plan. I think it's just like all the different super nerdy, you know, whether it's like Magic the Gathering or, yeah, I think like there was one that was like kind of Ancient Aliens inspired, like semi-jokingly, where it was like a lizard that arrived in like a little UFO kind of like flying saucer. And so, I don't know, they're all sort of just like inspired by different media that comes my way. So Lizard Boy was the fave. Yeah. Lizard Boy was, he was fine. That was when I should line these up next to each other and show kind of like progression, because they did start off not this involved, I would say. There was more and more complex as it went, just because I was like trying to sort of one up myself every time. So now I'm getting to the point where my MacBook is like melting and screaming at me for trying to like render all this stuff. I was hyped on the Gargoyle. I thought the Gargoyle was going to win round 1. Yeah, that was true. That definitely subverted my expectations. Like I should. Did this stop? Oh. No, this is. I probably just left my computer at this point. Let me see if I can get to a spot that's a little more stuff going on. I don't want to scrub through all my material here because I wanted to do at least like a good chunk of this where I was talking. Those are simpler times. Yeah, absolutely. I know. Let me see if I can pull those up on the side because I would be kind of curious to just do a little retrospective. Did I put them all in the same folder? Maybe. Fireside chat. Perfect. It's not like a FDR thing. It's the presidential. Stickers would be fun. I would do that. Yeah, I could see some of them translating pretty well. I would do this little merfolk guy for sure. The winner. The winner deserves that treatment. Yeah. No, that would be fun. We get some San Francisco representation. Spread the clash of cronies. Yeah, that's true. My only tattoo, for those of you who don't know, is a stick and poke Zubat. That's right. Spilling the tea here, and I was like, yeah, I'll get more. It'll be fine. And then I just have like still never committed to anything. It was just that one spur of the moment where I was just like, yeah, that's fine. So now I'm gonna, yeah, next one is gonna be this little merfolk guy. I would do some kind of like obelisk golem thing, like this rock guy. I would get some rocks tatted on me. But I'm in no rush. I know that my partner's family is listening, so they're probably just like, oh no. What was I looking for? It's just for the show. It's just for some talking, some conversational talking points. Take a look here. Yeah, I really just hid all my exports somewhere. Oh well. They're on my Instagram. No, at some point I like had to back up my hard drive and like move everything over, and there was stuff got kind of shuffled. Brunch with Bernie. Wow. sounds fun. That's right. Bernie is Vermont. I mean, I knew that, but let me show off the. I'm gonna replay the final export of this latest one just again in case. I'll just do that kind of intermittently. Maybe. Hey, Jin's Only Angel, thank you for the follow. Super appreciate it. Oh yeah, and at some point I don't know if people remember, I was like, as I was doing these, this is a plugin in After Effects called Duic. Duic Basil, and it's free, which is cool. So that's what this character is rigged with, which kind of creates this, like, again, it's just like a structure that, you know, like I only have to animate the hand moving, and then, like, you know, all the kind of articulation is automatic there. So just like a few keyframes will sort of act as all those like rotation keyframes, and other stuff you'd have to manually do if you were just doing kind of like a rig that was just using tools that are out of the box in After Effects, which you basically would just like, and there's nothing wrong with it, but like you basically just parent, like, you know, parent the arm to the body and then parent the hand to the forearm, and you just sort of have to manually kind of animate all those like rotation and like positions. It's a little more work, and so this one you kind of do a little groundwork, and then, you know, basically this saved me a ton of time, and I sort of, as I was going through this series, I like more and more started appreciating this process, because at first I was like, I don't think this is worth it, and then more and more I was like, wait, no, this saved me so much time. And there's some interesting stuff too, where it's like adjusting like basically their posture. Speaking of, I need to do that. But you can control like the bend in the spine, and like different like kind of subtle rotations that you may not really think of doing all manually. So I feel like that kind of made this character a lot more like, I don't know, I was about to say believable, but I mean, it still looks like a, you know, a mobile game, like that, one of those like fake mobile games that someone tries to get you with on an advertisement. But like, yeah, it just made the animation process a lot more enjoyable, and like I just added a lot of like subtlety in the movement. So I'm catching up on the on the chat here. Gabby says yes, more tattoos. Maria says no. It's conflicting information. Oh yeah, and then I did set up the little follow alerts with the robo dog. I was gonna see on my last stream when it didn't really pop off. I was going to change it back to what you had, but then I just kind of wanted to surprise you, Christopher, if you got one. That'll be part of our 2021 Experience Center rebrand. You didn't hear anything from me. We'll standardize everything. Jin, thank you. Seamless motion. That's such a nice compliment. I try. I should again. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna play the final. Medicine. Thank you so much. Medicine is my longest time bestest friend from I want to say I was like you're like 4 years old. We go way back. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for tuning in. Medicine is a big. I mean, I don't want to dox you on the stream, but Medicine is a big timer. Is a senior engineer at Slack. So we're amongst greatness here. I know we would just tear it up at Chuck E. Cheese. Our old stomping grounds. And we just hung out recently, and it was great. Homies for life. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. At one point I was trying to record my hours on this just to see, like, you know, if anyone ever asked me, like, you know, professionally, was like, how long would it take you to do this? Like, I would say the backgrounds probably take somewhere around like 8 hours. Like, I could probably paint all of this in a day if I was going, like, if I was pretty just like diligent about it and without, you know, with minimal distractions. Yeah, like I could do the whole environment probably in a day, but it would be like, I don't know, if I was under the gun, essentially. I think I took it a little slower than that. But then, yeah, the animation itself really, like, oh yeah, this one here. The animation took me, again, this one, like, as I was kind of like casually working on it, with a lot of grace and support from my team, as far as not giving me any like hard deadlines. I did this animation in a month, and that was just like kind of working on it on like different, you know, a bunch of different scattered different sessions like in any given week. So it's pretty time intensive. It always, like, once I look at it, once it's all done, I'm like, that wasn't that hard. And I'm like, whenever I think of my next project, I'm like, that'll take me a few days to do. And then it's just like I always just kid myself so much. Yeah, this is like when I should show the final one, but this is when I was like, I wanted the stage that they're on to break apart. You can basically, like, I went back into Photoshop and then like sort of like cut the illustration into different pieces and then kind of added this like three-dimensionality to it, sort of like retroactively. Yeah. that's a good saying. That's honestly how I always feel about this, like even today. Just doing the sound, like I was just like in different like sound libraries, like trying to find stuff, and then I was like, wait, I want there to be like this other scene where it like shows them winning, and it's like always like there's always more you can do. Yeah, let me show off the final one more time here. I keep saying that, but I actually found it now. And this time, I'll cut my tunes. It's like so melodramatic. I love it. Just pulls himself off being impaled. I love that part. I need my ending screen still, which is like some other beautiful illustration that takes me weeks to paint. So yeah, that's... Yeah, I had a big upgrade on sound. We got access to Artlist. It's like it's like a sound library. And let's see here. Yeah, like otherwise I was using some different free online resources for sound effects, which were totally fine. But like, yeah, all those like crumbling rock noises and like avalanche sounds were all that kind of from Artlist, and they were just a little higher quality and there was a little more options. So it was a nice upgrade. Yeah, the Merfolk sound was definitely from one of the free libraries, and it was just like someone's like, I don't know, like pet bird that they just like put through a bunch of like filters or something. I don't know, like gargly screech. I lost my tunes. They're there. I'm trying to see how much time do I have left on this this time lapse, and then I actually have to. I might go into After Effects and kind of move through the project a little and do kind of a real time like sort of process, walk through. Yeah, this part was actually kind of tricky because all those parts that I'm adding to this, where it gives it like that sort of like three-dimensionality, where there's like, you know, when it gets sliced, you like that cross section, because it's just a weird sequencing, because it's like that cross section has to be like under, you know, the top layer, and then like once it's that like that chunk starts sliding down, then like you want to reveal parts of it. I don't know, like I was essentially I had to do some like weird hacks to kind of cheat this like 2.5D, and some of it was like those little cross sections just had to be, and you can see right here I'm like trying to figure out like how it's going to work in the actual animation process. So it's a mix of, I started putting those cross sections on their own layers, whereas before they were attached to like that kind of top soil, if you will. And so yeah, I started putting them on their own layers so they could like hide underneath those top layers, and then like eventually in the actual animation I basically had to do some kind of like, I guess what you would call like a garbage mask, where you just sort of, you know, it's only they're sliding apart. There's probably like 10 frames where there's a weird intersection, so you just do a kind of a quick mask where you're like, I want this part to be hidden, and you sort of fake it. But in the end it worked out. There was only like a couple instances where I had to do that. Using Photoshop for this part. All the painting stuff that I do is in Photoshop, and I started getting into kind of like the oil brushes in there. At first I was resistant to them for a long time, but I feel like for these environments and stuff, like you just kind of want colors to like blend together, and I guess the look I'm going for, I want to just be like a little more like smoothed out, like definitely not graphic in any way. It's more painterly. So like the oil paints, you know, the fact that they, whatever you have on your brush kind of blends with whatever you're painting on top of. It's just a nice way to like kind of get everything in one pass and have it look like rendered. How do I feel about Adobe Animate now? That's a good question. Yeah, because last stream I attempted to show off this plugin that is called Time Lord. It came out pretty recently, and it's like kind of a bridge between Photoshop and After Effects for the frame-by-frame animation that you can do in Photoshop. So it's just like a little add-on that makes the frame-by-frame animation in Photoshop a little more bearable, and you can do kind of these like easy exports where you export like one video layer back over to After Effects. And last time I tried to show that off, it like wasn't working, but maybe that's what I'll do. I keep flip-flopping on what I'm gonna show for my live segment, but it's kind of whatever we want. I can draw or try to show that off. But yeah, to answer your question, now that I have the frame-by-frame stuff in Photoshop kind of like nailed down, like I'm more comfortable with it now, I don't see a ton of reason for me to reach for Adobe Animate at the moment. I know it has advantages because, like, I don't know. I think it would be, if you were only doing frame by frame, I think Animate would be a better place to start because of all the tools for, like, creating they're called symbols, or I think they're called, and it's sort of the same as, like, After Effects, where you create little, like, nested compositions. So Animate has the ability to, like, create these little pre-comps that you can then add additional transform properties to. So, like, if I was making an entire, like, frame by frame animated cartoon, I would probably start in Adobe Animate for that reason. But yeah, Photoshop, for my purposes, I don't see myself reaching for Animate, because, like, I just like the brushes in Photoshop so much better. And yeah, that was my biggest gripe too with Animate, was, like, it's a vector program, which is nice. So, like, you can scale up your animations infinitely, like, without any loss of resolution, right? But, like, I don't know. I think most of the stuff I'm doing is going to be 1920 by 1080 or 1080 by 1080. So, like, I guess, yeah. The vector brushes just don't do it for me because they're a little kind of flat feeling. So yeah, I love all my textures and my kind of, like, traditional media looking stuff, like the graphites and, like, all these, like, kind of, like, brushes that I'm animating with. So yeah, I'm sticking to Photoshop for a while until convinced otherwise. Yeah, maybe I'll do some animate here, or not animate. I'll try to show that plugin again because I was pretty hyped on showing it last time, and then there was kind of just, like, cascade of errors that happened. Like, my tablet wasn't cooperating, and that sort of meant, like, I had to do everything on one screen, and it was like my whole program kind of, like, fell apart. So I'll try to show that off again. That's actually all right. So I'm gonna stop this part. I just figure I hide my desktop from these prying eyes. Oh yeah, Twitch was being weird too last time. Yeah, it was, the odds were stacked against me. I was like, Twitch, I, like, couldn't see the chat. So I was like, no one's watching. But, like, I don't know. It was fine. It was just all being buggy. Hopefully there's not too much white noise. Our furnace just kicked on. Question is, where's my pen? Where is my beloved Wacom? I'm back on the 16-inch Cintiq today. So prepare to press that posture check button because I will be hunched over. Let's see here. Okay. Trying to gather my windows here. Sometimes when you change your like workspace kind of I don't know, like Photoshop will hide your windows in places. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is another even though I said that the animation was done, I'm just like, one more thing. I'm just gonna add one more effect here. Posture check. No. I was already. I thought I was doing well. Well, I checked my posture, but now it's going out the window. Okay, so one thing I noticed in animation is at this point where it kind of launches this sword at this character. I think I added a sound effect, but I wanted some kind of cool like magic or some kind of effect animation when it like starts to like gather, you know, like sort of charge up this attack, if you will. So this is the Photoshop timeline. Let's see if I can get these together. Okay. So I have the Photoshop timeline, and then I have the little panel for Time Lord above it. Basically so one thing that it did was when I was over in After Effects, there's another little Time Lord panel, and you can click a button on the toolbar on Time Lord, and it will create a same size, same length composition over in Photoshop, and it will create a timeline for you, and it will basically render this little like preview MP4. It's like a little low res, but it's kind of just a guide layer. And you know, that's, I mean, everything you know, like, that's something you can already just do manually, but it's just a little more convenient with just some button presses. So that's kind of where we are in the process. Was I clicked two different buttons and it opened this Photoshop document for me, and then I clicked the other one and it rendered out this little kind of guide layer. So now I'm drawing on top of my video layer, or my guide layer, and I wish I could like zoom in. There's probably a way, but I need like to have some little extension where like my mouse is like highlighted or something so that it's easier to see. But let's see, I'm just gonna go make a new frame. And so this is using the, what's called, I think, the video timeline in Photoshop, which is different from the frame animation option that's in Photoshop. So I couldn't tell you the exact differences of them, but I just know that like the way that the frame animation one is laid out is like totally, I can't decipher what's going on in that one. I'm just going to go over to where starting to kind of draw back like this. What's nice about this is like there's just little buttons here that can increase sort of the frame duration. So, you know, you can animate on 1s or 2s or 3s where, you know, one drawing lasts for however many frames you want. And sometimes I kind of like cheat and I go between them. So I'll be like, I can get away with animating on 3s for this part. And I'm sure that's an animation no-no to like change your frame rate, but it's okay. No rules. Bigger blue. Yeah, it's, I know, and it kind of, I feel like this part here where it gets like blasted and like parts of it start falling off. For whatever reason, I feel like it gets like kind of evil looking now that it's like decrepit and, you know, partially destroyed. That is something that I didn't, even though this was all like character animation, it's something I didn't, like I didn't really push into that aspect a ton. Like all the characters' faces only had one pose. Like I didn't have like mouth replacements or anything like that. It would have been another layer of complexity that, you know, it's like added time, right? That would be cool. I would be interested in that. It's hard. I know Christopher was doing a stream a while ago doing like lip syncing where you, I forget what, Chris, if you're still on, what program you were in. Was that Character Animator or was that Animate? I forget. I know like Toon Boom has a lot of that. Just like lip syncing stuff and, you know, having different like expressions kind of like on different sliders. Adobe Animate, nice. Okay, so let me put something on paper here. Yeah, I changed my my workspace so that now like the color picker appeared on my other monitor. I was like very confused for a second. I was like, why is it stuck on the eyedropper? So I will probably, I'm going to turn the opacity down on this one. Been kind of using this like fuchsia kind of color for the golem's magic. Alright, so I'm just going to start. So in this case, I pretty much have to animate on ones. I mean, my original animation is 30 frames per second, and so if I'm trying to like animate to it and things are trying to like track to these movements, then if I animate on 2s or 3s, then it just looks like, you know, the animation is going to be delayed. So this one, I just have to go frame by frame in the truest sense. Let's see. Here's the onion skin. So the one thing I do still like about Animate is that it does not include the video layer in the onion skinning. This is something that I am not sure if I can toggle off or like say like for a layer to like be not included in the onion skin, but let me do this. Okay. I have learned how to like tweak the onion skinning settings to like work better for me, but sometimes I'm just like I don't want to see the video. I just want to see my drawing only. Okay, this is just kind of like, just want like the edges of this to start kind of glowing. What I do very much enjoy about this, like, and I'm sure this is common practice, but just like when you are like compositing all this in After Effects, then you can, as the name would suggest, add effects onto this animation. So like, you know, I could add some kind of like layer styles and like glow effects and stuff like that. So it's a way to make your frame by frame look better. Oh, what was that? I try to think of like what material I'm going after for, I guess, you know, just like what movements you're making for the animation, and I'm not really sure right now. This is feeling kind of liquidy. kind of thinking more like, yeah, just more electric looking. Yeah, I always like have to toggle between the onion skin settings because like sometimes just trips my brain up too much. You're just like, which layer am I actually on? I think I need to like turn this down. Yeah. Nope, still confusing. This is again where Animate has better onion skinning properties because they will not just work off of opacity, like your onion, like layers, you know, previous layers will like be a certain color, and like layers that are after will be a certain one. Sure. Oh, really? Thank you for researching that. That's probably why people still use Animate. It's the one thing that it has going for it. No, I'm sure it has more. Again, I just haven't unlocked, like, I haven't found a workflow that works for me in Animate, but I've seen, like, I watched tutorials and I've been like super impressed with what people do in it. Okay, maybe this. I think I just had to like get the settings some finesse. Still don't really know what I'm doing yet, but so I just want, like, I'm imagining just kind of like little tendrils of like electricity that are kind of getting sort of collected like from outward and sort of all coming to the one point and then explode. Trying to kind of like follow the contours of this sword. This is a rough one, but yeah, there's got to be a way though. Again, I've started learning just how to like you just have to play with the onion skin settings and change them between, you know, there's different blend modes, so like screen, multiply, normal, and then like sometimes you can, if you're working on like a transparent video, you could just like change the background color of it to like, you're just trying to get like contrast, basically. So you can tell what's going on. Did I draw on this layer yet? No. I am definitely, I'm doing the straight ahead approach they call it, where you just kind of go for it. If there's something that's like more complex that needs specific timing, then I'll go ahead and like, you know, draw your keyframes at the different intervals at which you want them to happen, and then do your in-betweens and do it the real way. But this is just, you know, effects. I guess now that I think about it, I do want it to all come together at one specific point, which is right about here. So keep that in mind. We got a ways to go. Just looked at my thumbnail and I'm in my full goblin stance. Oh, my neck just cracked. Anybody else out there working on some cool projects, animation or illustration stuff, or anything in between? Totally not creative projects. Still creative, but not drawing related. It's looking like something. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's it's funny when you get inspired, and then when you have to go do it, you're like, oh man, this is hard work. Yeah, that's classic. You'll get there though. Just take a break from it. Fresh eyes on Monday. See, now that it's like here and I'm not trying to like track the sword anymore, I'm gonna now just animate every other frame. I think animating on one's like, it's too fast. Like you feel like you do a ton of work and then when you play it back, it's like, it happens in a split second and you're just like, where did all the time go? Hydrate. Branded mug. It truly is. Truly the perfect mug. How far do I have to go? Still a ways. Trying to make it look vaguely electric looking, kind of like psychic. Yeah, maybe more psychic is the look. Psychic type. It's a good kind of direction for this. I feel like I'm gonna have a little more, yeah, just direction with the shapes if I think of something like that to go off of. I'm sure there is a psychic rock, right? There's got to be. I mean, I'm pretty bad outside of my original. I'm a boomer. I only know the original 150. And I played like silver and gold. But I think I played Pokemon Pearl too on DS. I stopped after that. But I kind of like skipped some. I never played like Sapphire, any of that. 151 Mew, that's right. That was like, man, that was some ARG like level marketing that they did, because it was like, I just remember being like 7 or whatever and just being like, there's a new Pokemon. We have to go to McDonald's or whatever. Like, or go to Toys R Us now. They've hidden a Mew somewhere in the store. Yeah. No, I was talking about ye olden days of owning like the Pokemon manual and the first gen, and just how, I don't know, just such a sensation it was. And we were talking about Mew coming out and it being like just mind-boggling that they added this new legend. Poke Life. I was so confused when it was like first coming out, because I didn't know it was a game, and I think my mom had bought me like the Pokemon little like manual, which had like all of the Pokemon in it, with little like blurbs, and I was like looking at the map and being like, Vermilion Town, is that a real place that I can go and like find a Growlithe at? I thought it was like real life, so and then I think, yeah, Medicine even was probably the one being like, yeah, it's a game and a card game. Too hype. I know. I never saw that movie, actually. I heard good things, though. I mean, if you want to believe Pokemon's real, I mean, there's probably a whole society of people that I know, like people that have like their they do like the Nuzlocke runs and stuff like that, right? Where it's like you play a game, and if like your Pokemon faints, then it dies forever, and like people are super attached, of course. So I won't deny, you know, I won't come on the record saying that Pokemon is not real. It's too political for me to say. All right, this is when this explodes. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I have not seen Sonic either. Some cool like shard looking shapes. Try to have some visual motifs with the rock boy. He's got kind of like this geometric thing going on, so I'm trying to keep the psychic energy that way. So let's play it in real time. See how it looks. Still want to add a little like stuff going on outside of the sword, so it looks like it's kind of like coming in from multiple places. It is like a little awkward that this is located kind of in its groin. It's a little unfortunate, but it's too late for that. It's the center. It's the center of the rock boy. Okay. I mean, we saw that it was like his arm the entire time, so in a vacuum it looks weird, but I think maybe in the context of the rest of the animation, it's fine. Yeah, there's no going back. This is the last leg of the production pipeline. I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm just gonna add some, just so it's not, there's a gnat. Get away. Yeah, I'm just gonna add some like little extra energy bits kind of around, not just on the sword. And I think that will be pretty good. Maybe I start backwards this time. Yeah, I might do that. No. I don't think that'll work for what I'm doing. If there was anything to make more efficient using an express key remote, as I look for mine, here it is. This would be it. I think what I would have to do, and it would not be hard, would be, since this is a plugin, these aren't hotkeys that are like ready to assign. Basically, I think you would just have to record an action, and then click the button in the plugin. In this case, it would be like create new frame or next frame or whatever, and I think you would assign that to like F3, F4, F5. And then you would assign those function buttons to the express key remote. And you could not be a clown like I'm doing, which is I'm just clicking all the little buttons on here. So that's my next move. So force myself to familiarize myself with the express key remote, being an express key remote advocate, because it's always like, I think I've always, even internally, been told by people, they're like, some people love it, some people never use it, and I was like, well, I'll just be one of the people that never uses it. But like, yeah, it can save you time. It's the whole point. I say express key remote, but you could also do it on the express keys that are on a Intuos tablet, or you know what I mean. Should say it in here. See what I'm doing. Yeah, the rocker ring. Yeah, I mean, I do, yeah. I think I really like the idea of changing brush size with it. Like, if I was in a middle of like a painting where I just had like one brush that I was like basically doing the entire painting with, which is often the case, and then instead of like constantly jamming the bracket keys, just be like two hands, just like changing brush size, and then assign one of the keys to the inverted brush or like erase function, basically. I could do a whole painting that way without ever touching the keyboard. That sounds nice, actually, now that I envision myself doing that. Trying to like add little like splits here, so it's not all just like little worms wriggling. Pretty much gonna finish this effect and then probably wrap up after that. But just gonna finish this while I'm here. kind of a bunch of length to this, like all of a sudden. Just try to like change up the timing a little bit so it's not all just kind of a constant grow, constant build rather. Yeah, that's my dilemma. I'm always jumping around to usually After Effects, but or just like if I just like go into like a web browser or something and I'm like typing around, then I'm just like using the keyboard again, and then I get attached. Okay, well, let's see what this looks like. Turn this back up. I'll turn off the onion skin. Looks a little, I think it needs a little more contrast, so I'll probably, like in After Effects when I add it in, I might change the color, or like you can like duplicate it so that, and like make one of them like bright, like a white almost, and then have the one underneath be purple, and then kind of like add maybe like a blur to one of them, or try to create kind of like a glow, and I think that kind of adding kind of like that stroke or like fill, essentially kind of add some contrast that way. But yeah, let me just play this back, zoom in on it. Yeah, I think the explosion, this part could have a little more follow through. Let me just add a couple frames here. Although I have to ask myself if this is even in frame at this point, because I think the camera kind of jolts over to the side. So with that in mind, I will just add those couple little bits just to give it a little extra. And then let's play it back. Sure. Just a little extra something. Yeah. And then I will probably do an alternate version where there's like some heavy blood loss over here since he's impaled. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's Time Lord. And now the idea is you can like export those layers out and they'll just kind of pop back into After Effects and you know, in the right spot since the composition is all the same size. The main, you know, big part for me is like these tools. I don't feel like I was ever able to get this kind of like easily able to get like a frame by frame in this kind of like video timeline like format. Like there, you could create a new blank video layer, but then like the only option was to, if you wanted to animate on 2s, you had to turn the frame rate down of the whole document to like 15 frames a second, or 12 frames a second, and then like this way it's kind of nice to be able to like choose the length of each frame like on its own. You would have to do weird stuff too when you imported it back in to After Effects at like 12 frames a second. Like sometimes it would, you have to tell it to interpret it like a certain way, otherwise it will like every other frame will just be blank. Like there was just weird junk that would happen. This way is just a little more streamlined, and yeah, I think just the layout is nicer. I don't really feel like I was ever able to get this look on my timeline, so I'm a fan. Even though it has failed me a couple times, like it has glitched out on me and I had to contact customer service, but yeah, cool plugin. Yeah, let me save this document. I'm gonna play my video, perhaps, if I can find it, one more time. Because I gotta, just in case, gotta open and close with it. Santa Monica Studios, here I come. I'm gonna make the next God of War. Just inconvenienced. That like trumpet blast or whatever, like at the end, was very funny. Cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks for all the follows. Thanks for the participation. Oh my. Let me just switch screen here. Yeah, thanks for hanging out today. That's gonna wrap up our Clash of Cronies series. Thanks for the folks that voted on my Instagram and on Wacom Experience Center's Instagram on who they wanted to win. So it was a fun little like gamified social media thing. I had a lot of fun, clearly, with making all this nerd stuff. Yeah. Come heckle again, Medicine. Please do. I'd love to see you in the chat. But yeah, we're done. I'll post the final for real final on Wacom's Twitter or Facebook or wherever they'll let me post it. And then I'll post on my personal too. So you'll see what I have done with the final layer of polish. But yeah, thank you for everything, everybody. It's been fun. So I'll come at you next week with some Cintiq Showdown, if I remember right. Which that one is really fun. In case anyone has not checked that one out, we do like 3 or 4 people. And we get these prompts that are from this like word generator that we made up, and it produces some pretty wacky drawing prompts that most of the time I'm just like that are just very confusing and very strange, and we usually laugh and have a good time, so come check that out. Cintiq Showdown's not till February, so we're gonna hold on that. Next stream will be Monday with Megan, and back at it designing the deck of 52. So check that out for some like Adobe Illustrator stuff, and just some easy watching. Yeah, we'll put out a stream schedule too. So make sure you check us out on Instagram is kind of where we're most active, but Facebook as well, and at the Wacom Experience Center. So yeah, we'll come out with a stream schedule on Sunday and kind of remind people through the week when we're streaming and doing different events. So online events. So right on. Thanks everyone. Talk to you soon.